I think we have a quorum of people. My belly is full, so we can go ahead and get started. Good morning. Happy February. The sun is out. We will ignore the temperatures for now and just be happy to see sunshine. I will call us to order at 11 o'clock for our February meeting. It's nice to see all of you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, we will continue. Public comment. Go ahead, Kim. Would you? Yes, I see you. Would you like to say something?
Sorry, Amy.
It's okay.
I recommend John Moore be general manager, and also John Moore does a very good job at GMT for what he does.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We do appreciate all that John does.
Yeah,
He's a nice asset to the
yeah, I
organization.
make good comments about him.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Very good
Thank
one.
you.
You're welcome, Amy.
All righty. Any other members of the public here or wanting to make comment? I recognize that I don't think I recognize everybody's names, and I'm not sure who's in the conference room.
Nate and Farhan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we put it on mute. Yeah, it's for on and Nate. Yep.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate that. Okay. We will move on to approval of our January 12th meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve our January 12th meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I'll
Do I have
second.
a second? Thanks, Paul. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Let's see.
That was terrible, Amy.
I'm sorry, Austin. I shouldn't laugh at your voice, and I did just that. So forgive me. Minutes pass unanimously, and so we will move on to talk about our pesky situation with our battery electric buses. Clayton.
Yep. So wanted to make sure that we had a moment to talk about something that's been in the news lately, and we have want to make sure that board members who have thoughts on this have an opportunity to provide the group with their input. And so, as you all know from correspondence that I've sent to the board, we've had our New Flyer electric battery buses that we received in the spring have been non-operational since the end of November. And the reason for this is that the batteries in the buses have been recalled. And one of the things that New Flyer has done to limit the risk of fire while we wait for a recall is limited the charging of the batteries to 75%. But more importantly for us, prevents charging under 41 degrees. And so we've been working with both New Flyer and our own staff to come up with solutions for this. I am happy to report that New Flyer will have a technician on site this week, and we are cautiously optimistic that the end result of that visit will be a solution where we are able to charge these. One of the things that I want to make sure that the board is aware of is that this has really triggered a lot of feedback from the community. And so when WCAX did their story on this and they posted it to Facebook, it had several thousand comments on it. The comments, as you could probably imagine, are not exactly positive towards the concept of using electric battery buses. I think that the way the story was presented, just because TV news is so brief, I think that folks made a lot of assumptions about what was presented on the news that were inaccurate, and specifically, a lot of folks were left with the impression that we had knowingly purchased buses that we wouldn't be able to charge in weather that was under 41 degrees, which of course is not the case. And so as folks may have seen in the news, I've been in a position of defending the electric battery bus program. And I think that there has been somewhat of a rush to judgment that this situation means that moving in this direction has been a failure. I think that obviously we're not happy that these new buses are not operating. But I very much think that we need to look at this as the buses throughout their entire lifespan, and having our buses not be usable for it's about 2.5 months now. Obviously is not ideal, but when you consider the 12 years that we'll have these buses, I think that it's too short a time frame to make judgments. We do have 6 additional buses on order, and those buses are going to be critical for us. And I should say specifically electric battery buses on order with New Flyer. Those buses will be critical for us in meeting our fleet inventory goals and being able to continue to do service. So I'm not recommending that we take action to cancel that order. They'll be delivered with newer batteries that won't be impacted by the recall or the recall. And one of the things that I think is important to keep in mind is that these buses were operating within expectations, prior to the recall. So I think that our expectation that the 6 new buses will be able to meet our needs. One of the things that we've heard a lot in the media reports, I should say, one of the impressions from the media reports is that GMT was sort of in a position where, we had a choice between diesel buses and electric battery buses. And I think that that may not entirely be accurate in the sense that we went down the low-no pathway because that was the priority of the federal administration at the time, and it wasn't clear that we would have our grant application fulfilled if we went with diesels. And so I can tell you that from my perspective, if we had gone with the diesel application that had been rejected, which I think is a very good chance that would be the case, then we'd be in a situation where we would have no new buses coming in. And I will take quirky buses over no buses at any time. Before turning things over for your feedback to me and for board discussion, there is also plans for a third order of buses under this grant agreement. And those would be for another 6 buses. There is the potential that we could change that order to potentially something like hybrids instead of electric battery buses. That will create a financial impact because the hybrids will actually be more expensive for us than the electric battery buses. But I do just want to let folks know that there is a potential off-ramp for that third order, but I think that it's too early for us, to decide one way or the other. So that's kind of the level setting. And with Ross here, I don't want to put him on the spot too much, but Ross, is there anything that you would want the leadership committee to consider as we talk about this situation?
Thanks, Clayton. And no, you covered it perfectly. And we really appreciate GMT hanging in there and trying to help this industry deal with some of these dynamics, as we really, as a industry, pushed the manufacturers to bring these buses to market. So we're also hopeful and cautiously optimistic that over the 12-year period, these will be performing as expected. Don't forget too, we also had those state goals, with the Global Warming Solution Act and Climate Energy Plan that was really requiring VTrans to have 50% of our vehicles electrified, hybrid, better performing, greenhouse gas wise, by 2030. And so what we did is we went through and obligated about 15% of the bus fleet to the low and no emissions power plant. And as a result, we've took the lead for hilly, chilly areas. We took the money, which was more dollars than our ICE buses could receive in terms of federal dollars. We also grabbed the $2.2 million from DEC from VW settlement money, saving both VTrans and GMT a significant amount of share for those vehicles. So that's where we are now, and thankful that the administration, FTA, has allowed us to move from electric to hybrid if and when that's necessary. If we need to get one fewer hybrid buses with the dollars that we originally planned for electric, that may be the best approach depending on the operations. Last item is in March, the VEIC folks who have been overseeing and helping and assisting with all of our electric bus procurements and facility fit ups have a report out to really take a snapshot of operational impacts around the state with all the different types of vehicles, and looking forward to getting that out to the legislature, to our providers, and seeing what that baseline of experience shows us in terms of future investments. But at this point, we are not planning to invest in additional electric vehicles and facilities until we clear the books on all the obligated funds that have been awarded and work through these issues. So thanks for that, Clayton.
And so for board members, love to hear your thoughts. I can tell you that there's been a lot of comments to the news stories that, hey, we should, cancel immediately. I know that we have at least one board member who has expressed consistently over time that we should not be moving now and towards battery electric buses until solid state is here. But I just don't see that as a viable pathway. So want to take time to get your thoughts on the matter.
Clayton, would you also remind us about, I'm going to forget her name, the individual from Indonesia who came and did a little cost effectiveness assessment for us?
Yes, and so thank you very much for reminding me of that, Amy. And so folks may recall that we had a fellow from Indonesia, Aun, and she had done a study on the costs of our electric battery buses compared to their diesel counterparts, because we received New Flyer diesels and New Flyer electric battery buses at approximately the same time last year. And this allowed us to do a comparison of the costs, and the cost showed that the electric battery buses were favorable in terms of cost.
Thanks. Board members, any questions, perspectives that you want to share? Go ahead, Paul.
A couple of questions. On the new buses that are on order, is there any way to get New Flyer on the hook if those are not performing the way they should next winter? I mean, we're taking their word for it that they're putting in a better battery. But if that turns out not to be the case, we're going to park those buses for another 4 or 5 months. Is there any way we can get them on the hook for some of those damages?
Well, I can tell you that we are exploring what options we have as far as our existing inability to use the buses, and I think that will very much drive what options we may have in the future. I can tell you that I think that these contracts were established in a way to protect an emerging industry, and I think that we are going to have a difficult time getting financial payback for our lack of use. But I don't want to prejudge that until we've had time for our legal counsel and his correspondence to New Flyer to work itself out.
So kind of a related question, but our diesel fleet is getting older. So a
Yes.
year from now, they'll be a year older.
Yes.
Are you concerned that if we can't put buses on the street next winter, that some of the diesel buses won't be up to the task and will be really running no service at some time?
Well, I think that certainly is the concern that I have. We have dropped 2 runs because of the lack of buses since November. So there has been a small impact because of this, but I think limited it to 2 runs in 2.5 months is shown that it hasn't been nearly as bad as it could be. But Paul, you're absolutely right. We have a very large chunk of our buses are over their time and mileage. And I think that without having these additional buses, we would be having a hard time with pullout next year. I will say that next year we won't have seasonal, and so we won't need to be providing buses to support seasonal. With that said, we're going to be getting fewer buses back from Stowe than we would prefer, because Stowe had made their contribution towards the local match for the purchase of the buses there. And so next year will be somewhat different because of that. The other reality is that I suspect, unless there's big changes at the legislature, that next year we will probably be running less service than we are now, and that will likely decrease our bus need. Jimmy, anything that you would want to add to what I put there as far as our overall fleet health?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. We will, as you said, be getting 2 buses at least back from the seasonal. The battery replacement on the New Flyers 2 months ago was an 18 to 24 month timeline. They're going to have to get shipped to Ottawa for those battery replacements. So you are correct that we could be looking at another winter season. But I think everything else you put in there is right on the money.
And we may be, by the end of the week with the charging solution that would be able to put these 5 buses back into service even, in the winter.
That's the hope.
Yep.
Is there any place these buses could be put where they could be warmed to 42 degrees and then charged to 75%?
So Nate, I see your hand up, and we'll come to you after I answer Paul's question. And so we're not allowed to bring the buses indoors because of the fire hazard, and that's one of the tasks that will be happening with our ongoing grants to harden our bus barn. And so I believe that by next winter we may be able to be doing indoor charging as well. So that will also be a factor that will put us in a better position for next year.
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, which I believe you answered half of it, but with our limited infrastructure for charging and then the restrictions on Burlington Electric and the times we're allowed to charge and the battery fleet increasing, what is the plan for charging going forward?
And so that's something I can't speak to off the top of my head. Jimmy, I don't know if this is something that we would need to come back to with an answer for that.
No, we can answer that. So technically, we could charge the buses indoors. We don't have the infrastructure finished for the indoor charging. They can't be stored indoors. They could be charged indoors. and that project and that grant continues to go forward. So the indoor charging and the requirements of what's going on in that project to get compliance with Burlington Fire Department, the fire marshal's office, should be complete before next year's winter season, in which case we would be able to charge them indoors, and then we would have to store them outdoors at least up until the battery replacement has taken place.
Right, but the second part of the question was, what about the off-peak during on-peak demand charging when we have limited times we can charge? So when that cost analysis was done with that lady from Indonesia, did she factor in the difference between peak time and non-peak time for a growing fleet of battery buses?
That I can't answer.
That's an expense we would have to look out for, is it not?
Yeah, I don't know if Clayton, if you have any from that analysis, but yes, we do have to pay attention to the peak times which change during the year, which is set by Burlington Electric Department, and it would not be cost prohibitive to try to charge those buses during peak usage time.
Yeah. And so her study, I'm almost positive, considered off-peak charging, which is going to be the expectation moving forward, that even with the additional buses, that we will be able to have them charged off-peak. And I don't know if the 75% will impact that, but the plan moving forward is that all of the charging would be done during non-peak times.
So further clarification, Clayton, then when that charging when the stations were designed, were they designed to charge X number of buses off peak?
That I'm sure that they are, but I just don't know what the answer is. And I see Jimmy possibly.
Yes, Paul. There's room for expansion should the electric fleet grow, but there will be adequate charging for the number of buses that we have now and on order inside when the project is finished.
Excellent.
Right. Let's see if we can wrap it up. Andrea, Susan, or Austin, do you all have anything that you wanted to share or consider?
I think
ahead,
everything's been covered at this point.
I'm going to stop laughing every time you speak, Austin. That's not nice. Go ahead, Susan.
So there are a lot of moving pieces here, a lot of variables. It's obviously too complicated for me to really understand what the correct pathway forward is. I think I just want to reiterate what Paul said, that if we are going to move forward with the purchase of the third round of electric buses, that we take a close look at our contract language so that we make sure that we don't find ourselves in the same situation again. And I guess I also feel like about the idea of switching over to the hybrid buses. I would personally be okay with that. I think that if we focus on trying to increase ridership, that we're doing a lot in that respect to help with our climate goals, just getting more people riding the bus, whether they're hybrid or electric. And so I would be open to that as a way forward also.
That's a great point. Thank you. Anybody else? Let's keep an eye on this. Certainly as the weather gets better and as our organization kind of shifts and changes over the next few months, and have a better sense of what New Flyer has to say and so on and so forth. So I imagine this will be fluid for the next few months.
Amy, if I can just add to what Jimmy and
Sure.
Clayton were just saying. So we have been talking to Burlington Electric basically since the beginning that at some point we are going to reach a level of electric buses where charging everything off peak is no longer viable. We're a ways from that point, but they are aware of it. The feedback we've gotten is that there's a level of oversight of the rate fees that Burlington Electric has. They have limited ability themselves to adjust rates. They have to go to the Public Utility Commission. Those conversations have been started, but I don't know what the status is or the likelihood of at some point in the future getting a more favorable rate schedule for operations with the off-peak, on-peak times. And just to confirm, our schedule for the next phase of charging should be well ahead of winter. So we should have all the fire suppression in place as well as the new chargers indoors before the next winter season.
Thank you, Matt. And, you know, that may play in with the decision for that third round, whether to be hybrid or battery is based on what we can work out with Burlington Electric.
We have tasked VEIC with doing some additional analysis too on when we reach that limiting point for charging everything off peak.
Well, Amy, I've really appreciated the discussion, because really what I wanted to get a sense from the group is whether there was anyone who wanted us to pivot towards, you know, a sort of halt with the program. And it seems like at this point that we're going to continue cautiously forward together at this point.
Yeah, Clayton, I think we have no choice. I mean, this started with the legislature, so everybody's going green. The state obviously is forced to also go green because the legislature says we're going green, and we have no choice because legislature and V-Trans say we're going green, so we are. And I'm not sure that we should be big guinea pigs, but we have been. And hopefully the good news would be that even though we're guinea pigs, it'll all come out well in the long run.
Certainly, that's the hope.
Okay. Let's move on to our next conversation is starting conversations or continuing conversations about our post-transfer org chart. What does it look like when we are urban only, starting in July?
And so what I'm going to do is share my screen and talk us through something that I previously had sent to the board when it was in progress. And so right now, sorry if the bar is in the way, but it's the board and myself at the top there. And so what we have here is a projected org chart for July 1st. And so that's why you won't see anything referencing Berlin or Franklin Grand Isle or our seasonal service. And what you have is also with John Moore's return from his assignment to rural. He will be coming in to sort of lead our combined financial efforts. This is something that I think will provide greater continuity of operation, as well as giving the financial, component of our operation, which is so critical to everything else that we do, the attention of our second most senior executive. One of the things that you will see under the assistant GM portion there is that in consultation with John, Nick, and Tim, we came to the decision that we don't believe that we will need a grants director position after the rural transfer. When we took a look at the items that the grants director Tim does as our grants director now, about 2/3 of it is in support of the rural mission. The rural billing is more complicated than the urban billing, and so our thinking was that by eliminating that position, that would provide us with cost savings, and then we would be able to redistribute the workload across this team here. One of the things that you'll see is that Matt Kimball has a director of question, because one of the things that we're looking at here is we know that procurement is an area that we've struggled with in the past, and so Matt will be he's always been sort of our lead on procurement, but he will be stepping into that role more fully. This will have a real positive impact across the organization, because then we will be allowing our department heads to be subject matter experts with procurements, but not necessarily have to manage the procurements entirely themselves. I think that that's going to be very helpful for the team. But we just have the question mark there because we are likely going to tweak his title. When you look at Jamie moving off to the right, what you'll see is that as the rider experience team will be taking on Tammy Brady and Waris Hassan, who will be continuing in their customer service roles, but with an urban focus. And Tammy is going to be integral to our return in-house of providing our ADA reviews internally instead of outsourcing that as we presently do. And Jamie and Tammy will be managing the customer service portion of the ADA program. John, stepping back to John's tree, he'll be working on the compliance component of ADA, making sure that everything with SSTA is going per the contract. Here for Chris, coming up next, these are the positions that are 90% paid by CCRPC, and we do anticipate adding another transit planner in the coming months. Our Army of One, Stephanie Reed is next as our Director of Human Services. And then with Jimmy, our Operations Director, handling operations both for driving under Farhan and for maintenance under Tyler. And then one of the other changes that we made was moving Mike D'Amico, our property manager, to operations. And most of our facilities here in the urban area are directly in support of operations. And so with Mike focused here in Chittenden County, we thought that it made sense for him to be more closely aligned with operations, especially because that's where our custodial staff are that work closely with Mike. So one of the advantages here is that coming out of my pondering of a departure in December, working with Amy on how to make the workload more manageable for me as general manager, and certainly having John with his skill and experience to help for the critical financial components is something that's going to be very helpful for me. And so I'm going to stop sharing and then just turn things over for folks to see if there's any concerns with what we have moving forward. People know that I'm loath to decrease our administrative capacity because I see that as our pathway forward for new revenue streams. But having a director of grants, as we have had with Tim, I just think is something that it makes sense to forego. So, any thoughts or concerns from the board? Paul?
Sorry to jump in. Anyhow, two things. One is, I'm wondering if you've got the assistant manager on the same line as directors.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you wouldn't want to extend that and have him directly underneath you before you get to the directors.
I think that makes sense. It also requires me to know how to use PowerPoint better than I presently do. And so I think that that's why it's on a different level. But I certainly hear your point that he is, that the directors should probably all be on one line.
Yeah,
and Jamie's going to be able to fix that.
Yeah, in your absence, he's going to be the general manager. Second thought is I don't see any administrative assistants anywhere on that org chart. So does that mean that everybody is doing all their own correspondence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
That means that if I want to stuff envelopes to legislators, I stuff them myself.
Well, I think that's something we need to talk about. What's the best use of your and the director's time?
Well, I think that I couldn't agree more.
I know it's been hard hiring a good administrative assistant and keeping them, so I'm
Mhm.
not sure that that's the problem.
Mhm. I think that the issue has just been the perception of adding an administrative position, which may be a very intelligent decision, but we may have a hard time messaging when we are potentially eliminating service with that. I will say that Amy and I have been discussing something that would very much help in that area, where perhaps one of the biggest administrative loads is the load to support a board, and I don't think that we are doing as well a job on that as we could right now, just because of capacity. And so one of the things that we are looking at would be a part-time position that would help with a lot of those things. Certainly would provide a big relief to me. And a part-time position would, of course, be non-benefited and would allow us to get assistance at a much lower price than another full-time employee. So that is something that we are looking at, that I hope to move in the coming months, that will provide some of that help without creating another FTE.
Could you elaborate on the duties of the board liaison person?
Well, one of the things that I would want them to do is help them integrate to the board as well as to their municipality. And so one of the first things that they would be doing would be helping us get our board orientation packet up to speed, would then be helping to onboard new board members, letting them know how we operate, and getting them prepared to make decisions as board members. I think just as critically, we will then be supporting board members to do work within their communities. One of the things that I'm concerned about is that that when I show up at select boards and city councils, a lot of folks are very not in tune with what is happening with GMT, and we would like to be able to have our board members be more active. But in order to do that, I realize that we're going to need to have somebody that is going to be assisting them. I think that it's fair to say that many volunteers wouldn't know how to, request to be placed on an agenda for a city council or a select board, would perhaps feel, nervous about that role and would want, somebody to be helping them to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I do really appreciate I think what's happening from, January 1st through July is a big shift in the organization. And I do really appreciate taking the moment to stop and think about how we can make it function as best as we possibly can imagine. And I appreciate the thought that went into kind of what this might look like going forward. So as org charts always get tweaked and shifted, it's nice to start to be prepared for that shift. Okay. Seeing no other thoughts, questions, comments. Clayton, do you have anything more on that one?
No.
Okay.
Just, if anyone does have ideas, feel free to reach out to me, and happy to talk to you.
Great. Similarly, moving forward into looking at 2026 GMT and board operations.
And so really, I wanted to just create space for us to continue having discussions. I wanted to see if we wanted to perhaps discuss our service committee and how to move forward with that here now, Amy.
Yeah.
And not to put Susan on the spot, and I'm sorry I didn't think about this earlier, but also Susan, if you just wanted to provide a bit of an update on how things have gone with the visioning committee. But for the service committee, Amy, any comments you'd like to start us off?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So right now, I think on the service committee, that is not the right to post it. It is myself, Ilona, Charlene. We haven't met yet, by the way. And hoping Chapin, when he's done with Vision, will join in. And Susan, you might be on there after you are done with Vision too. I can't remember. But looking for someone to chair that, and thinking kind of Chapin might be our strongest option, and then he's also quite busy at the moment. So wondering maybe as a strategy we might. I haven't asked him this either, but we might want to consider maybe myself and staff can just get facilitating going. And get going, and then ask if he might chair it as he transitions later in the year from visioning. And I don't know if anybody has a thought on that strategy or a different way to do it.
One of the things that I'll add is that I see Jamie, Chris, and Jimmy really being key staff members for that committee. And I know that they all have sort of ideas of the things that how they would like to participate with the committee. And so if you do want to move forward with having you and myself sort of facilitate this committee while we wait for Chapin or somebody else to be its full-time leader, I think that would give us the opportunity to get moving. And would give staff an opportunity to kind of show their thinking, and then that may also influence people's desire to serve in a leadership role on the committee.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Okay. I think my next steps then is to do what Susan did and send out a message to folks, including staff and potential service committee members, and find a meeting date and time that works, and get up and running by March.
Okay. The
Henry, I forgot Henry was on the committee as well.
And I'd be happy to send out a doodle poll today. And I do have I'm fairly certain that you've shared with me the list of potential members. And so I will send it to that group and the staff. And I think meeting in March would be great for our first meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that's service. Susan, do you want to give us a kind of an update on all the amazing stuff that you've been doing with the Vision Committee?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had our first meeting on January 29th, and it was just basically a time for us to get ourselves organized. Unfortunately, Chapin wasn't able to make that meeting. So we're hoping to get him into the next one. We're working on that new meeting time now. But at the January 29th meeting, we really talked about, clarifying what the committee's purpose and scope is going to be, working on a charter language to explain that, which we'll be providing to the board at our next full board meeting for their approval. But and Jamie, jump in and correct anything I might be misstating, but we'll be focusing on high-level goals that are measurable and possibly time constrained. And then our thought is that we will use those goals to drive sort of goals, actions, and work plans at the more operational level. And then we'll also be taking a look at our mission and vision statements, and developing principles that staff and the board can use for decision-making when we come, when we're faced with different trade-offs. So that's the broad scope of what we're going to try to be doing. We want to try to complete this work before the transit development plan update starts, which Chris estimated, as I recall, would start in the second quarter of fiscal year 27. So I understand that to be around the October timeframe. So we agreed to be pretty aggressive in our work and that we would try to meet every 2 weeks to maintain momentum. That said, we have not found a regular meeting time yet, so we're working on that, but it looks like our next meeting will be on February 19th. We also talked a little bit about what a process might look like for early engagement of key stakeholders like VTrans, CCRPC, CATMA, other folks. So we haven't finalized that list yet, but starting to think about that. So we will continue that conversation at our next meeting and get something figured out to begin that engagement process. With respect to the broader public, we thought it made sense to put together our draft set of recommendations and then at that point take it to the board and to the broader public for their review and input as a check to see that we're headed in the right direction, that we're getting things right. And then we also began reviewing our existing transit goals that have already been established in previous GMT planning documents. So kind of starting there as a basis for our future direction, and also started to look at some model strategic plans from other transit agencies that we like. So we'll continue that conversation also at our next meeting.
Good work.
I just want to, I've known Susan for a little bit now outside of GMT, and I'm always in awe of her logical and very determined and focused brain. I do try to focus in my wandering brain to be a little bit more like Susan, and I'm not there yet, but I super appreciate this thorough outline of really understanding what needs to happen and when and how to get there. So thank you for that.
Well, right back at you, Amy. I'm learning so much from you. So it's a mutual.
There's a contrast. She's got some stuff, I got some other stuff. But anyway, I appreciate the work that you're doing to get things going, and we will get service going up. And of course, finance is already up and going, although we shifted around some of the board members so that they could shift committees if they wanted. And then leadership, of course, stays the same. Am I missing anything that we needed to share or update?
Nothing that's coming to mind, Amy.
Okay.
With us having a few extra minutes, and since I've been putting people on the spot all meeting, I think I'm going to ask Jamie if maybe she wants to let us know the success that we've had in recruiting some community members to be on our advisory committee.
Sure. So to date, we are thinking about having a committee that's about 8 to 12 members. And if folks have questions about the committee, I'm happy to answer those, but we've gone over that, I think, a few times, that this will be a rider engagement focused committee representative of all rider groups, including our ADA paratransit service. So we started the initial recruitment a couple of weeks ago, and we sent out some pretty focused partner emails so we could start getting representatives from some of our partner organizations to participate. To date, we've had 13 people apply to be part of the committee. So Clayton and I will go through those applications in the next week or two. And hopefully, I sent some more information to SSTA, hoping that they could put some information about the committees out on their vehicles so we can recruit maybe 1 or 2 more members from our ADA community. But in the next couple of weeks, we should have the start of a rider engagement and access council. And I'm hoping that the first meeting for that group will take place in March.
Great.
Well done. Okay. Thank you for that. Bless you. Or I don't know if you're sneezing, but you're getting bussed anyway, Jimmy.
Coughing. Everybody's coughing and sneezing.
It does sound like the world around us is coughing and sneezing and feeling like terrible humans, and I hope that goes away for everybody soon. Any commissioner comments? Okay. Any final words, Clayton?
Stay warm, everybody. And for those of you who care about the sports thing, sorry about last night.
I guess it depends on who you're rooting for. It was kind of a boring game. Anybody have anything else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Andrea. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all so much. I do, despite the temperatures, hope you get to enjoy some sunshine today. And I'll see you all soon. But not next week. I will miss next week's meeting. And so I'm tagging in Andrea.
Have a good vacation.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.
Bye.